Hey everyone, today we're going to be checking out the Mars 2.0 collaboration between Carryology and Mission Workshop. And I thought that the original collaboration that they did was a very cool idea. I particularly loved the story and the fact that the bag was inspired from the packs that astronauts would be using to explore Mars. Now, in practice, I wasn't a big fan of the layout in general. I just don't really like using roll top bags, and there were some things about it that just didn't work very well for the way that I normally like to use my bags, but it was a very high quality bag. I loved the harness system. I did end up selling it, but there was just a lot of really interesting ideas, so I was very excited when I saw that they were releasing this new collaboration that seemed to have many of those same sort of inspirations, but in a clamshell style layout, which seemed to be a new thing for Mission Workshop. It also just seemed to offer many of the features that I normally like to see in kind of an all-purpose bag. And so definitely caught my eye. And in this video, I'm gonna be talking about what it's been like to use this over the past couple of weeks. I'll show you how I've loaded it out, walked all the features, and I'll also talk about how it compares to some of the other similar bags that are currently on the market. Now, one thing that I always like to call out with the Carryology collaborations, because they are limited releases, is I know that you can't easily pick these up. You can probably find them on the secondhand market, in the Facebook groups, on eBay, and so they're not easy to get, which is not ideal if you're watching the video and it feels like this is the right bag for you. But with Mission Workshop's original collaboration, they did release another version of the bag. It wasn't the exact same thing, but it was very close as part of their normal lineup on their site. So if there's enough interest in this form factor, hopefully it will also make its way into Mission Workshop's lineup, even if it's not the kind of special edition one that I have here. So hopefully it will still be kind of helpful to see the bag in action and the features that it offers in case that does happen in the future. And so excited to dive in. Before doing so, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Danny, and on this channel we love reviewing popular travel and everyday carry gear. If you like these types of videos and you'd be interested in seeing more, please consider subscribing, as it helps the channel out a lot. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump in. Starting off with the overall aesthetic, to me this is a pretty futuristic and techy appearance. Feels pretty sleek, and it does look quite different from the previous iteration. That one was a roll top bag, so this one to me just has a much more subdued appearance that feels very versatile. It's gonna blend in well into a lot of different environments and situations. And then as far as the materials, the bag feels very solidly built. The exterior fabric is Ultra 400, which is a very popular and modern fabric that's gonna offer tons of durability, weather resistance, and it's also gonna help keep the weight of the bag down. This comes in at slightly under 3 pounds, which is pretty good given the size and the features that it includes. Ultra also seems to have kind of a distinct texture along the exterior, which to me kind of contributes to that futuristic space age vibe. And it also maintains its structure pretty well. Beyond that, you have some well-protected aqua-guarded YKK zippers all throughout. Continuing along the outside of the bag, I was sad to see that there's no external water bottle pockets. On the side, you have some attachment points that are meant to pair with the organizational kits that were created as part of the Mars collaboration. I actually didn't end up getting those, as I just didn't feel like I was going to use them too much. So you do have these sort of slots on the side, as well as the attachment point at the top, which I suppose you can still use to attach a carabiner if you want to. I was also experimenting with whether this would be able to hold an umbrella. So here I have kind of a standard size umbrella, and I am able to slide it in, but this is open at the bottom, so if you have something that doesn't quite fill this out, there's a potential that it could slide through. You can maybe clip this to the top. So, trying to see if I can get some use out of this, but would have preferred if, it was just a more standard compartment or didn't rely on the proprietary sort of organizational pieces. And so you have the same layout on both sides. And then at the top, you have a carrying handle that gets the job done. It offers a nice amount of space. You can hang the bag up, but it doesn't feel quite at the same level as the rest of the bag. I would have liked to have seen something just a little bit more kind of padded and that matched better with the kind of futuristic exterior of the bag. And then the last thing I'll mention while we're on the exterior is that you do have the ability to stand this up on its own pretty consistently. Again, as I mentioned, with the Ultra fabric, it maintains its shape, and you also have a pretty wide flat bottom here, so I've been able to place this down next to me and have it stand up consistently. Moving into the capacity, this is listed at about 26 liters, and I've talked a lot about why I think this is a versatile size, can work well for your day-to-day and still give you enough space for minimal travel. Seems like this is a popular size for the Carryology collaborations, the Dragon 2.0 and the Griffin CTB came in at 26 liters as well. And this feels pretty comparable as far as how it feels and what it can hold. And so, I like the extra capacity, even though this does feel a little bit larger as a daily bag, particularly with the rigid fabrics. It never, shrinks down when it's emptier, but it still has a pretty sleek profile, and it feels like something that's going to work well for carrying onto a variety of domestic and international airlines, jumping on public transit. And I do feel that it might be slightly big as a personal item on some of these stricter airlines, so something that you want to keep in mind. Continuing with the harness system, so far the bag has been really comfortable to wear. I like how the straps have been implemented here. They have a very comfortable padding. It feels really soft, easy to wear for longer periods of time. On the inside, you have a breathable mesh as well as the patterning here to give you plenty of breathability. The straps also have a good width to prevent the bag from digging into your shoulders when it's a little bit more packed out. I really like the contoured shape, and then you have a couple of attachment points here as well as an adjustable and removable sternum strap. The back panel has also felt quite comfortable. It has the same type of padding and breathability that we saw on the straps, well distributed all throughout. I will say that this all feels a little less robust than what was on the previous collaboration. With that one, you had the ability to adjust the height, and everything just felt kind of thicker. Regardless, I still found this to be quite comfortable, more than enough for my day-to-day needs, but just something to note. And then you also have a luggage pass-through here so that you can rest this on your suitcase while traveling. I was sad to see that the orientation changed. On the previous version, you did have the ability to stand the bag up. Here you have to place it on its side, and so still gets the job done, but the laptop compartment isn't oriented sideways, and so I'm never a huge fan of when those things don't match. You also don't really have a side handle, so it can be a little clunky to get it on and off. I suppose that's where maybe some of these attachment points can be useful, but it doesn't really seem like it's intended to be used that way, so would have liked to have seen the vertical orientation instead. Jumping into the organizational options, the bag has a nice variety of pockets all throughout. To me, this is a big improvement over the previous iteration. It just feels like there's more options and it matches up better with the way that I normally like to use an everyday bag. And so starting off on the front, you have these two zippered quick access pocket. I like the vertical orientation on them so you can swing the bag around, access the compartments without taking it all the way off. And so you have the zipper garages here along with the well-protected zipper. And these are two separate compartments, which is really nice. And they offer a nice amount of volume. In this one here, I just have my sunglasses case at the moment. This is a pretty bulky case and it's able to fit comfortably on the inside. You also have a slip pocket that's got this nice elastic material so you can use that to hold smaller items that you don't want floating around. I didn't really end up using that, so it just kind of lays towards the back without any issue. And then on the other side, you have a similar compartment and they have separation here so you're able to use them both. And in this one, I actually ended up storing a memo bottle since I didn't have a water bottle pocket on the side. Thought that I could just use it here and it does end up working. So again, it's nice to have that volume here, and here as well you have a slip pocket if you want to use it for that sort of thing. So I like the flexibility that these provide. And then behind that, you have a nice admin section with a zipper that goes down a good amount, making this a very useful compartment because at the bottom you have plenty of volume. It goes pretty much all the way down. So you have a secondary compartment with plenty of volume that you can use for pouches and other gear. And so at the moment I have the Civic Access pouch, 1 liter here, as well as an Alpaca admin pouch. And at the bottom, you have a zippered compartment here with a nice elastic material, which I didn't end up using because I wanted to be able to place the pouches there, but great to have that. And then you have a little lanyard with a carabiner here for your keys. Behind that, you have a single slot for pen or stylus. Here I have a pair of scissors. And then you have 2 elastic compartments here with a nice amount of space. This was able to hold my USB-C hub, as well as the USB-C cables that go with that to charge my laptop. And on the back, you have an additional zippered compartment. Goes about this high here. And then I have just a couple of random things that I tossed in, a headlamp. I have an extra pair of wired headphones, and then a charging cable for my phone. On the back, you have a dedicated laptop compartment. This is a top loading compartment, and you have dual zippers here to be able to easily access it. And I really like the implementation here. This definitely feels like a premium padded laptop area. And so this will be able to handle a 15 or 16 inch MacBook. Currently I have my 14 inch MacBook Pro, and this is properly suspended off the bottom of the ground. The back and the sleeve are well padded. They have this almost kind of gel-like feeling padding here, so everything feels super protective, easy to get your laptop in and out. And now with the pocket empty, you can get a better look at that padding that I was talking about. So very cushioned, a little bit thicker, which is what I like to see on a laptop sleeve like this. On the front, you have a secondary slip pocket. That could be a good spot to store a tablet or something like that. But just for the laptop itself, really like the amount of protection that this offers. And then moving into the main compartment, this has a clamshell style opening, which I believe is a first for Mission Workshop. And so this opens up nicely to provide visibility into this main area. And it's a very spacious compartment, again, with 26 liters of capacity. It's able to hold an impressive amount and adapt to a variety of packing styles. So at the moment, I just have a couple of different pouches, my modular setup here. So I have my Beat Studio headphones at the top, Peak Design packable tote bag. I have a couple of pouches, the Bellroy Tech Kit. I've actually been starting to use this pouch from Air again. This was one of my favorites for a while. I haven't used it, and so I wanted to bring it back. And then I have the Civic Access pouch 1/2 liter and the Civic Access pouch 2 liters. On the back, I have my Levitate portable standing desk, and all of that fit in there without any issue. And then of course, this is the type of layout that's gonna work great for minimal travel. If I wanted to toss in a packing cube, a toiletry bag, an extra pair of shoes, and a couple of other things, I could easily use it for a longer weekend trip. And then on the back of this compartment, you have a sleeve here that's gonna offer a nice amount of elasticity. So it feels like a nice material, good to provide some separation, but it kind of just stays out of the way if you don't wanna use it. And then you have the 2 patches that are included with the bag. This is one of the cool aspects of the Carryology collaborations, particularly this Mars collaboration. These are just some really interesting patches. I like them in the previous version, but I do prefer the sort of black and white style that was used here. Then you can remove these. You have this little panel of hook and loop here that you can use to customize it with other patches or pouches if you want. And then on the other side, you don't really have any additional organization, a very simple panel here. You just have the logo at the top with the Mars Project and Mission Workshop and Carryology logos. So I really like the layout that's been provided here and the space that this offers, and just the organization that was included throughout the rest of the bag. The laptop compartment, there's a lot of really cool ideas here. Definitely feels in line with other Carryology collaborations, and really hope that if there's a lot of interest in this style, that it makes its way into Mission Workshop's lineup. And if you're a fan of the Carryology collaborations, if you're looking for something that's durable, the clamshell bag that's gonna offer a versatile size and a comfortable carry, this is gonna be a really cool option to take a look at. And so to wrap up, it's been a pretty great experience testing out the Mars 2.0 collaboration. Since this is a limited release, it's not currently available on the company's site. You can maybe find this on some of the Facebook groups or on eBay. It's gonna be in a more premium price range, as tends to be the case with the Carryology collaborations. Also, because this is made out of Ultra and assembled in the USA, that also adds to the price point. I paid over $500 for this one, so definitely an investment as a backpack enthusiast. I find a lot of value in these types of bags. I think that the story is cool, but I do think that there's gonna be some other great bags in this price range or below that are gonna be worth considering. And so as I was testing this out, one of the first bags this made me think of is the Air City Pack Pro 2, which I've been talking a lot about over the past couple of months, as I think it's one of the best bags that's come out this year. It is available in Ultra, so you can have that sort of futuristic material, well-protected zippers, got a very comfortable harness system, luggage pass-through, dual external water bottle pockets, well-padded and suspended laptop compartment, clamshell style opening. It comes in at about 24 liters, so pretty similar capacity to this one. It doesn't feel quite as bulky, but it's able to hold an impressive amount, just a super versatile bag. And it's also gonna come in at a lower price point. So if you're looking for a bag that's gonna be full featured and that will also provide you the Ultra fabric, then that's gonna be a fantastic option to take a look at. The next bag this made me think of is the ULA Dragonfly, which is a very popular minimal travel bag. I've talked about that quite a bit as well. They offered it in a 30 and 36 liter size. I really like the 30 liter size because it's actually pretty similar as far as the capacity to this one. The main compartment is gonna be around 24 liters. It is offered in Ultra, so it's gonna be very durable, lightweight. That's really one of the main selling points of that bag, is that it's so lightweight, which makes it great for traveling. It's still got a pretty comfortable harness system, maybe not quite as robust as the one on this one, but it does a good job for the weight that it comes in at. It also offers a dedicated laptop compartment. It's got a clamshell style opening. It's a very simple layout, so it can hold an impressive amount. Spacious dual external water bottle pockets. You have some good quick access pockets, and so everything is very effective about that bag. And if you're looking for something that's going to come in ultra, and that's going to be in a lower price range, and that's going to be a little bit more travel focused, and that's going to be a fantastic option to check out. And then the last option that I'll mention here is the Triple Aught Design Axiom Pack. I was able to check out the Black Magic edition of that one, which comes in ultra, so similar to this one, very durable, highly weather resistant. You have the well protected zippers, super comfortable harness system, and then it's got a clamshell style opening, nice organizational layout. You have a padded laptop sleeve. It's gonna come in at around 19 liters, so it's smaller and slimmer than this one here, definitely more daily carry focused. But if you're looking for something that still has a little bit more of that futuristic vibe, that's made in the USA, and then it's gonna feel really durable, and that's gonna be a really cool option to take a look at. With that being said, this new Mars collaboration holds up very well against all those options. I'm excited to see Mission Workshop start to experiment with a clamshell style loadout. Hopefully this bag makes its way into their main lineup at some point in the future. That was what happened with the original version of the Mars Project Collaboration. They now have the control pack, I believe is what it's called, as part of their lineup, which doesn't have some of the more specific collaboration features, but it's a very similar layout, materials, and things like that. So hopefully that'll be the case with this one, because it is a really solid option, very comfortable to wear, very solidly built. And so if you're looking for something with a great organizational layout, it's gonna hold up, this will be a cool option to consider if you're a fan of the Carryology collabs, and you can pick this up. Might be worth checking it out, but if not, hopefully we see the regular edition come out at some point in the future. Fingers crossed. And I'm definitely curious to hear what you all think of the new Mars collaboration and how this compares to some of the other Carryology collaborations that I've featured on the channel in the past. And if there's any similar bags that you think that I should check out, as always, please let me know in the comments. And I want to thank you for watching and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like, and if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming videos, and we'll see you in the next one.